FreeSalonEducation.com invites you to join us every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for live and interactive classes from your favorite free salon education educators. So grab a mannequin, get set up, and make sure to share your results using the hashtag FreeSalonEducation. FSE Live starts now.
Hey guys, this is Matt Beck from FreeSalonEducation.com, and we're going to go over some dry hair cutting this morning. We actually, this is a haircut that we started a couple weeks ago. So we went through wet and we cut in the precision graduation throughout the haircut. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the dry detail work in this haircut now. So what I'm going to do is, you could see, if you guys didn't get to see the last class, what we did was we sectioned off sort of a horseshoe looking section around the parietal ridge, across mid-crown, and then back along the parietal ridge. So it was a very symmetrical section throughout the top. So now what you're seeing is that section actually blanketing over the rest of the haircut. So underneath all of these pieces that are hanging down, you can see our precision cut that we did previously. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fine-tune that haircut. We're going to finish it and add just the finishing touches. My personal opinion is I think that you do the wet cut for the precision lines and any weight that you're looking to build within the haircut or weight that you're looking to remove. And then when you go in with the dry cut, that's really where you're putting all of the detail work and the finishing and all of that. So let's just go ahead and get started. I want to go over about 5 different dry cutting techniques that you guys can use in the salon. They're very salon friendly to make your haircuts even look better. So I'm going to turn the mannequin. Let's see if we can get a good shot of the side here. And I'm going to part it right down the center back, sort of. So really we're opening up that graduation that we cut in before. Now what I want you guys to really focus on when you cut a graduation is not to worry so much about this baseline. I think a lot of people think that they need to get that line perfect. Definitely you want it to be balanced, but it doesn't have to be a perfect straight line to begin with, because as soon as you blow dry the hair is going to lift and move and bend, and you're going to have uneven lines anyways. So what we want to do is, in the dry detail part of it, we're going to take our scissor and we're going to go through and we're going to work that line using the tip of our scissor to help to really create a nice straight line that's going to really be easy for your guests to recreate at home, so that when they go to blow dry their hair, that line just falls into place. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to take the tip and just work right along that line. And the reason we're using the tip and not the whole blade is as soon as I go in here and I try to cut a lot of hair at once, especially dry hair, the hair is going to push away. So we're going to get a curved line, and then you're going to go in and cut more, and that's when we end up with shorter hair than we wanted. So just go in with the tip of the scissor and work that line in. And the key here is once you start to see that line kind of forming, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to step back and take a look at it. And then I'm going to have my guest, typically, I'll have them shake their head back and forth just to see if that line stays in place. And if you see some hair move out of place, then you just recomb, no tension, and cut into it some more. That way, once you finally get it so they can shake their head and move around, and the hair stays in place, you know that when they go to blow dry their hair, they're going to have a lot more success with it. And that line is going to look great all the time. And that line is really what's going to set you apart in your town or wherever you are with the haircuts that you're doing. Because I know when I look at haircuts in the grocery store or anywhere that I'm at, I'm looking for those nice strong lines, and I'm really sizing up the competition that way. So when somebody's, walking around with your haircut, you want them to have those really nice looking lines within it. So the other thing that I'm going to do is I want to go through, we'll just finish up with the point cutting through here real quick. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Turn this a little bit. Again, we're live, guys, so if you have any questions, please post them in the comments on YouTube. and we can hopefully answer them for you before we're done.
Hey, Matt, we actually have a quick question.
Yeah.
Jose Rivera said, "Hey, Matt, what would you do if your client left your salon like this? Or what would happen if your client left the salon like this?" I'm assuming just unfinished, not, texturizing and going through dry.
I mean, I wouldn't let the client leave like this, so I'm not really sure if I understand.
That's why I asked to clarify the question.
Okay.
He also said, "What shears are you using?" Hey, Matt, what are those shears? We all know those shears here, though.
So you obviously love Mizutani scissors, and these are the Free Salon Education version that we put out, the limited edition. So you can't get them right now, but we have a new one coming out soon, so hopefully you guys, you'll get to pick that up when it comes out.
I got a little dry cutting question for you.
Okay.
Just like I see you work in the salon, and I see this is how you prep your guests, for the dry cutting with, perfectly smoothed and all that. But what happens when you've got the guests that have a natural texture to their hair and wear that natural texture to their hair? Would you still go through and create this level of smoothness and straight before you do the finishing, like the dry cutting work?
If I had a guest with textured hair, like a curly wave, and they were going to wear it like that all the time, I would not smooth it out. I would dry it in their natural texture.
So just diffuse?
And do the same thing, yeah. So I would really want that hair. You want the hair to live as natural as possible. Even when I smooth this out, I'm not smoothing it and forcing the hair to really do anything it doesn't want to do. What I'm doing is I'm blow drying it in the natural pattern that the hair falls. So even when I iron it, I'm ironing it to the bend of the head so that it's really working as natural as possible. Because you don't want the hair to, like, I could force the hair to do anything I wanted, but then as soon as they try to blow dry it at home, it's going to bounce all over the place, and you're not going to get the same effect. It's not going to look as good. So you really don't want to force the hair to do anything it doesn't want to. So I'm going through the sides doing the same thing. I'm just combing that top longer hair away and working around the baseline first. You could do this at the end as well if you want to, but I really like to see kind of the shape start to form on the bottom. So again, I'm just using the tip, and you could see, like, some of this stuff, you could see how the line, get out of the way. You can see how the line isn't perfect right now. So there's little bumps and gaps in it. That has to do with how your finger angle is, your elevation, all of that stuff goes into play with creating that, line there. And it's really hard to hold something with tension, and that's really what this is all about. Is when you go in with the dry cut, I'm using no tension, letting it fall in its natural place and cutting it. You couldn't really do that wet because you can't go through wet and use the point of your scissor as easy. And wet hair is obviously not natural, so that it's going to have more weight to it. It's going to be clumped together more. So this is really the hair at its truest most natural state. So when I get this combed down, then I can really see what that line looks like, and I can go through and define it. Now, I'm not changing the haircut. I'm just defining the line that we created previously in the wet cut.
Now, Matt, what would you do if their person had a cowlick in the back that was going in different angles?
So if we're working with a cowlick, I think personally you have to share with the guest how to make that go away. There's a lot of techniques involved with either blow drying with a comb or using a tighter brush. We have the vest brush, which is a fantastic brush with more tension. So really coaching that guest and showing them how to make that cowlick go away is your best bet. I don't think, but when you look at it from a haircutting standpoint, you just want to use a lot less tension, and you don't want to try to stretch a cowlick out of its where it wants to go in the first place. So it's really the less tension you use in a cowlick area, the better for me personally. So that would be my two things. I would cut it with less tension, and then I would teach them to flat wrap, blow dry, kind of work that cowlick out because it's not that difficult, and then go in and do some dry cutting on it to get really finalize what you want that look to be. So that would be my few suggestions on that.
Now, with a haircut like this, Matt,
Yeah.
would you use maybe like the wider teeth of a comb to just hold a little bit of tension on that hair if you did have a crazy cowlick?
Yeah, you can. I mean, the comb that I'm using right now has really wide teeth on it. So my suggestion would be definitely go with a comb with wider teeth.
Now, we got a lot of people chatting about texture now that it's been brought up, because I do love this haircut, and I do think that there are variations for any texture.
Yeah.
If you would just, I don't know, hit on maybe a little bit of what you would do different. People are asking about whether it's ethnic hair or just a little bit of wave or curly, because I think you could still achieve a version of this haircut on any texture of hair. There would just probably do things a little differently.
Yeah, I mean, I do this haircut on texture hair as well. The biggest difference, this is the greatest haircut for texture because, first off, you're working the whole bottom of the haircut with precision and deciding how much weight you want to keep. So maybe if you wanted to build up more weight and put it on the top, you could. So let's look at this was a curly head of hair. When you're holding it in your fingers, obviously if I want to build the weight out here, then my finger angle is going to change a bit. And if I want to raise that weight and push it towards the top, then my finger angle will shift up a bit. So, and that will remove more weight from the bottom and push the weight toward the top. Really, with hair cutting, what you're doing is if you remove weight from one place, it doesn't just go away. It's being shifted to somewhere else. So when you're looking at curly hair, it's just an extreme version of that. So I know that people do a lot of straight cutting, and a lot of mannequins come straight, so it's just kind of the way that it works. But hair cutting in general is all the same. It's just there's extreme sides to both. So you could have somebody with really fine straight hair. You could have somebody with really coarse curly hair. You're still going to do the same type of haircut. You're just going to make adjustments to it. So if they had really curly hair, I would still section out that whole top section. So we would have all of this hanging down. I would diffuse her and get it curly the way that I want it to. Maybe even take a wand iron to it depending on the texture. And then I would go in and dry cut this longer pieces to form into the rest of the haircut, because dry hair cutting on curly hair works really, really well. So I think that your goal is to make sure that in the wet cut you're taking out the amount of weight that you want, and that's all based on finger angle or the angle of the haircut. So just really adjust yourself and know that the curly hair is going to expand and grow, and change your finger angle that way. Most people don't want to really build out a curly shape this way. When I'm cutting hair, I'm looking at it like, so if I'm working on the base and my finger angle is here, I see all of that hair. I see this as a long line that goes out to here. So all of that weight is going to start to stack on top of itself and build out here. If I change my finger angle up here, then all this weight within here is going to be removed in this section, and it's going to be shoved to the top of the head. So curly hair is great, and personally, it's one of my favorite things because of the fact that you get to see the shape happen so much. With straight hair, you got to really work it to see a shape, but with curly hair, you can expand it really well. So have fun with curly hair, and don't be afraid to do the same type of techniques. Just make sure you're focused on your elevation and your angle when you're cutting it. All right.
Just explain to my guests when I do this with curly hair that we can do this haircut. Just expect a little less of a razor sharp line, because the texture just kind of makes it fall to slightly different points.
Yeah.
If you're going to leave it curly. Like, we can still do this rock and bob. It's just going to be a little bit more textured through the lines.
Right. But your baseline could still be really strong.
Oh yeah, strong.
Right.
I'm just saying not like that.
Right,
That
yeah.
perfectly placed line like you've got there.
Because you got to think about it, that all this hair that's making up this short line is only about an inch long. So because it's only an inch long, even if this was curly hair, it's still only an inch long. So there's not much curl happening. So you could define a really strong line in here and then expand the shape, and then it's going to have curl and mess and going through it. But at the baseline, you would do the same technique, but you would diffuse the head, and then you would go through and you would point cut the baseline all the way through, have her shake her head around, move it with your comb a little bit, comb it back down, and then go back through and point cut some more. This is something that you don't just go through point cut really quick and it's done. This is something you really want to work those lines in. I know a lot of the magazines that you guys see in different, the trade magazines and all that, you see all these haircuts with really sharp lines. They're doing all of that in the details. I mean, they're working it wet, but then they go through and they detail it. And it's not something that they just do really quickly. They're focusing on getting the right image. So you want to make sure that when you go through and you do your detail work, go over it and comb it and see if it works, and then go back over it. Take an extra 5 minutes on that line, and you're going to see a big difference in the end result of your haircut. So a couple more techniques that we have here. We're going to work vertically. I'm going to drop the mannequin a little bit. Make sure she's still in the shot. And this technique, and this is one that I haven't really done much on videos, but you'll see it at the trade shows and stuff. So we're going to work with a stroking technique to remove some of this weight, but also soften a line that's going to fall over top of this graduation. So what I'm going to do, the key to this technique is to take not a lot of hair, unless you're really just trying to build up a bunch of texture. But if you're trying to draw a line in the hair, then you don't want to grab too much. Now, your elevation is based on how much weight you want to remove. You could go off of your guideline that's here if you want to. I like to elevate it just a little bit more than that, just to remove a little extra weight on the edge of the haircut. If you wanted to create a disconnection in the haircut, you could clip out one of these pieces if you want to, and that's really how we create disconnection as well. We're not gonna really do disconnection in this haircut. I'm gonna go through and do the technique all the way through so you guys can see it. So,
Hey, Matt.
Yep.
We have a question here.
Okay.
Where is it? Kristen Myers would like to know, how would you get that really piecey shattered bottom, like the new bobs are so popular right now?
So the shatter bottom is pretty simple, and what I like to do with it is either use a razor to go through it, or like we showed you guys in some of the past videos, we do the undercutting, then allow the top to come over. So it would be more hair than this, and then you cut it at that length, so it's not such thick hair. The reason that you get the stronger line at the bottom is, like I said, that hair is shorter at the bottom, so it's stronger. So you see that definite line. If you cut that hair up and undercut it and let the top fall over and then cut the top a little bit longer, like in our past videos, you're going to see a more shattered, broken feel to the haircut. Make sense? Okay. All right, so we're going to go into the stroking technique. What we're going to do, Thad, if you want to go, yep, there you go. So let me turn towards, what camera are you on?
I'm on
Camera 1, camera 2.
it says
Nah.
camera 6.
Okay, you're way over there. Okay. So the way that we do the stroking technique is I like to put my thumb halfway in the scissor, so not all the way, really, because that gives it more of a bounce feel, so you can see how it moves back and forth. And then what I'm doing as I bounce it up is I'm opening the scissor with my half thumb there, and then as I come down, I'm closing onto the hair. And then you're releasing the hair as you come up. So it's this motion. You can see how my scissor opens as it comes up and closes on the way down. And we're going to take the hair. So let's shift over, Thad, to that other camera. There we go. And let me move it in a little bit. You can hear Justin typing away.
Types with conviction.
Yeah.
I was to say he's a very powerful.
Slams those keys.
These hands are so strong.
He talks with intensity in person and online.
All caps.
Okay, so elevation is nice and high. And then what I'm doing in here and just removing and drawing the line with the scissor. We're going to comb the rest. And everything right now that I'm going to do is going to be over directed to the back.
Straight back or to the center?
Straight to the center back until we get to the round. So we're working our way straight back till we get to this corner. Then when I get to this corner, everything will just come straight back to me. just so I don't build too much extreme weight going forward there. So now we're rounding that corner. We're at the ear, so everything will be just straight back towards me, not towards the center. Elevation is still high.
And just to clarify, this is not, you're not teasing the hair.
There's no teasing. We're actually fully cutting the hair. I'm going to break this section up in half. Oh.
Can you do this with swivel scissors?
I think so, yes.
Matt, is
7
this the
years
same
later.
stroking technique that Takashi does?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's exactly like Takashi, but yes, it is something I've been doing since beauty school when I saw it on a Paul Mitchell DVD. So I would say if you want to learn the technique that Takashi does, that this would be a very close way to start. Let's put it that way. Okay, now we're going to change it up because now we're working on the right-hand side of the head, so I'm going to be working from underneath my fingers. There's really no difference here. Same thing, opening and closing the scissor. So we're just working through until I get to that corner. Everything's coming to the center back. And then once we get to the ear, everything will come straight back. Again, we're not teasing, we're just creating a broken line within the haircut.
Matt, would you consider this a texturizing technique?
Yeah, you're definitely putting a lot of texture into the hair, but it's not like a texturizing technique like most people would think of, that thinning the hair or anything like that. You're just creating a textured line within the haircut.
Mickey would like to know if you can do that technique in a slow motion video.
Slow motion video. Thad, can you run the slow motion replay?
Slow.
Can you just do it in slow-mo, Matt?
Yeah. So what we're doing here is opening the scissor as we come out and then closing as we come in and cutting just with the tip of the scissor. So then you're releasing the hair, coming in, cutting, releasing, cutting, releasing. So you should see a line forming as you're cutting the hair. So you want to see kind of that forward motion because we're over directing back.
Is there any sort of guide that you look for
Yeah, I'm using the guide
as it starts to fall out?
from the hair. Yeah, so I let that hair fall out, and then I just go through and start the stroking technique that way. So the front, I'm not going to over direct everything over because I don't want it to grow too far. I don't want it to be, we're not looking for the old Victoria Beckham haircut here. So what I'm going to do is work first a side fringe so you guys can see what that looks like. And you can use that on your guests, and then we'll work a straighter one because that's just fun to cut. So
Highlights are amazing.
I know, right? So we got this long piece in the front right here. We haven't cut that part yet. So what I'm going to do is clip away, not clip away really, but I don't want to use too many clips in dry hair because we've already got it smooth and polished. And as soon as I throw a clip in there, it's going to be destroyed. So we're going to work with some point cutting through the fringe area. So I'm working on a diagonal forward section. See if I can get that to stay out of the way.
That's the one thing that took me the longest to get used to.
What's that?
After watching, like, just working with you, like, I used to finish the hair, but I would always kind of throw a clip in there, and I see how religious you are against it. So I've tried to get in the habit of not using clips because you see a huge difference when you're trying to finish a haircut.
Yeah, when you're finishing.
And it's just some hair is just so unruly and doesn't want to play by the rules of, sitting there for a second.
Right.
Sounds like you.
Pretty much. The hair acts like I do on a daily basis.
All right. So everything's just being brought to me from the top. And the angle is basically following the forehead. So I don't want to create too much. If I go straight up with the hair, that's just going to create too many short layers, and it's going to be a layered fringe. I'm looking for more of a 90-degree kind of feel right off the fringe, and then growing the hair and keeping it long towards the back. So more of a rounded feel to the shape of this. And then directly over the parting, going through and doing our point cutting. So my diagonal forward has now moved to pretty much vertical at this point. And that over direction is going to help push that weight off to the side for me. So just make sure that you have that over direction in there if you're looking for the side fringe feel. We'll pull the rest over.
Just a little side thing while you're working on this, because this is how I've started doing my fringe as well. Like even the shorter ones. I notice though, if you don't really watch the angle, like your I'm sorry, not angle, elevation, that you end up leaving it longer than you mean to.
Right.
Because it's that hairline piece that if it's held up too high, it's just gonna be too long and not give them what they're looking for. Like I know you did a longer one here, but I'm saying when you do it actually on shorter
Yep.
fringes.
Now, if you don't want to have this asymmetrical feel, which is totally cool, that's not really the plan. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that same point cutting technique. So we're going to kind of end it the same way we began, is we already have this solid line on this side. So what I want to do is with no tension whatsoever, I've already removed the weight from this side. So I'm going to go through and use the point of my scissor and cut into this line here. I'm going to do the same thing, so just combing it over, make sure it's where I want. You can see some of those loose hairs pop out, and that's when you want to go through and just detail it a little bit more. And then you can see it balances the haircut. And then with this side, because it's still a little bit heavy, what I'm going to do is just quick diagonal forward sectioning and go through. And I'm not going to necessarily change the line here, but I'm going to go through and just point cut really deep into it and add a little bit of texture through this side. Just lighten it up a bit, but I don't really want to change the length or anything. Over directing everything forward and just creating that texture. Because I don't want the texture to be short all the way through. I want to keep the length that we had in the back of the haircut. And we'll go through and we'll just soften with a little bit of tease cutting, because you know I love a little bit of that. So we'll just pull out some of these pieces and work in a little bit of texture. So half closing the scissor. Really pushing that hair into where the scissor closes, almost down by the screw, and working just a little bit of that weight out. And we can mess up, see that texture coming through in the haircut. But what you'll notice is even though I'm messing this up, that line is staying in there. And if it's not, then we'll go through and we'll just use that tip again and work through the bottom.
Matt, everyone's loving this haircut.
Sweet. But the only difference is all of you guys out there, if you haven't done a technique like the point cutting through the bottom, this is something I learned a long time ago. I probably was watching a DJ Muldoon video or something, but it was all about the point cutting in there. And that's what really separates your hair cutting. You know, if everybody is holding it at what we call a 45-degree angle or whatever, everybody's creating that kind of shape, but it's these details that all of these guys are using that you see on a platform or whatever. They're using all of these details to create all these perfect lines and everything. So it's all about consistency. It has a lot to do with your elevation. You can see how the weight, how it's almost seamless through the layering, and that's because we cross-checked it when it was wet. We did a lot of different small things that changed what this haircut's outcome was. You know, if we just fly through it, we got 15 minutes and we got our next guest waiting, and we just fly through the haircut, you're not going to get this type of result. You got to book yourself the right way. You got to take the time. This is what makes your haircuts worth more money, is being able to take the time to focus on those details. So I think that's pretty good. I want to add in some products from our friends at Mercado.
Did you say you were doing something else with the fringe, or was that it?
You know what? I was going to cut it straight, but I don't think it's a big deal. And I kind of like what it looks like. So every mannequin that we have in the basement right now has a straight fringe. So
Yeah.
We'll let this girl be a little different. So I'm actually using the volumizing dry shampoo from Mercado. I like this because it thickens up the hair a bit. So I spray that in the underneath. It smells delicious too. Jeez.
Does it taste delicious?
I don't know, Thad. Do you want to taste it?
Let's find out.
So just adding a little bit of texture to the haircut, but I'm really just spraying this through, and then I could comb it out or brush it out, and it would just give it some fullness. So I like that product a lot. It just separates it. You start to see some the hair getting a little wild, then you can go back through, comb the product through, and then just lift it up and piece out some of the pieces.
It tastes like chemicals.
Like did you taste it?
Yeah,
It spreads.
Got a good waft over here.
Spreads throughout.
Just take it in.
You're like bombing the place. It's like a bug bomb.
All right.
Kristen Collins wants glitter spray.
Oh, geez.
How
That's not
dare
gonna
you,
happen.
Kristen Collins? How dare you?
Only if Justin will spray it on there.
Well, looks like that's never happening. So, sorry,
All right,
Kristen.
let's see. Is that good? You want to grab a little,
Don't say glitter spray.
not glitter spray, firm. Grab a little firm spray here. And that is the end of our fun haircut today. So you guys can see how sharp the line is in the back, how everything falls really nice. Dad, you want to go to that other camera? There you go, cool. Not that one. Number 2. Sweet. So you can see how nice that falls through there. It connects really well with the front. And then we have our nice side fringe, nice and light side fringe. I think that's the key of that part. And then into the other side, nice strong lines as well. and I'm seeing right now. I could probably cut into that a little bit, and we'll do that. But you know, that's what it's all about, is just focusing on those details. Look at the whole picture of the haircut. I hope that you guys enjoyed this haircut. I hope to see you guys tonight live on Splitting Hairs. It'll be tonight. All of us will be on there. Next week, our class is going to be...
Have we decided?
We haven't.
Let's decide.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
We like to
tonight.
do this kind of like
How about
planning
this?
in front of you.
What do you guys want to see next week? Post it in the comments below or in the chat right now. Also, thank you to Mercado, Millennium Systems International, DemandForce.com, and Minerva Beauty. All of these companies are great. Check out Mizutani Scissors on shopfse.com. We will have a class next week. It'll be live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here.
Real quick, before we get out of here.
Yep.
Name the mannequin that you're using. What type is it? Because we're getting asked again.
These are the human hair mannequins. This one's hair art. We have some new ones coming from Pivot Point, which is what I saw on the website because I really love Pivot Point. This is also the human hair. I forget which one this is called, but Hair Art sent us a bunch of mannequins too, and they're great mannequins as well. So we're using the Pivot Point mannequin stand, which is fantastic. It allows you to do this, which is fun, and no one has mannequin stands that do that. And so just great products, but I would just mostly focus on getting a human hair mannequin, and that's really what it's all about. If you want to get them, you can get them on ShopFSE and order them that way. I think they run about $60. So
Totally worth it.
Totally worth it. Yep. And we're launching the new snap cap mannequin heads from Pivot Point, so the hair snaps on, but you keep the head to help with the environment and all of that stuff. So we should be getting those in the mail this week. So we'll be showing you guys those as well. So, yeah, definitely post below the class you want to see next week. We'll bring that to you live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. What?
Kristen Meyer said, "Great job, one ball."
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Kristen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week right here on FSE Live. Thanks.